Okay, and to end off the show today, I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Jay Llanes. Jay was one of the PAs and screenwriters for a short film that I got to direct this past summer called All I Ask Is, a reunion between two friends that goes sour when bad intentions come into play. And it was a lot of fun, met a lot of great people. And Jay, like I said, he was a PA and one of the screenwriters. Great work from him on both ends. And, Jay, when I was desperately asking, like, hey, does anyone want to come on their show and, possibly add a different voice to me just rambling on for about an hour about movies, Jay stepped up to the task. So, Jay, I'm very appreciative of that. He's joining us to review the film Extraction. Jay, how you doing today?
Pretty good. Doing well. Surviving what's going on in the world right now. And overall, doing all right. Been working on some top secret project and, keeping myself busy.
All right. So like I said, he's joining us to review the film Extraction, the new action thriller that was a direct release from Netflix, debuted this past weekend on April 24th. And the film follows a black market mercenary as he's tasked with rescuing the son of an international crime lord. The film is directed by Sam Hargrave and is based on the novel Ciudad. I hope I'm saying that right. Ciudad by Ande Parks, Joe Russo, and Anthony Russo, and is scripted by Joe Russo. And the film stars Chris Hemsworth, Rudhraksh. Oh boy, this is where I'm going to run into a little bit of trouble. Rudhraksh, Jaiswal, Priyanshu, Painyuli, Golshifteh, Farahani, David Harbour, and Randeep Hooda. I know for a fact I butchered about half of those names, and I sincerely apologize to to the actors associated with this movie, whose name I did not exactly say in the best way. But again, I'm doing my best. So Jay, just to get things moving a little bit more here. So what are your thoughts on this movie? Like, what'd you think of it?
Okay, well, going in, first thing I saw was the poster and the title, and at first I thought, fuck no, what the hell is this? Straight to DVD Walmart bin shit? But then I started looking into who was behind the camera, and it was one of the stunt coordinators, I think it was, of a couple Marvel movies, particularly Captain America and the past few Avengers movies. And I thought, you know what, I might give this a shot.
Oh, okay.
So I'll give this a chance because some coordinators behind the camera, I support that. So I started watching it, and overall, I enjoyed it. It's not a perfect movie, but I enjoyed it.
Going kind of building on what you were saying about a lot of with certain other names associated with other big name franchises. I look at the Russo brothers, who were the directors of Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. They were producing hands on this project. So it's funny that you say that, one of the stunt coordinators from another one of the Marvel films. And, of course, you have Chris Hemsworth, who worked with the Russo brothers on the two Avengers movies that I mentioned. And it's just nice and I think it's nice to see when certain collaboration networks stand true, certain filmmakers working with certain actors and other crew members. So I always think that's nice. In terms of what I thought about this movie overall, it was entertaining. I can't say I disliked it. If I had gone, I'm happy this was a Netflix film where I didn't exactly have to pay an obscene amount of money for a ticket price, or I had to drive however many minutes just to go to a theater. Because if I had to do that for this movie, I'm not gonna lie, I would have been a little bit annoyed. But I think that for what this movie is, like I said, streaming release, then I think it's fine, especially with everything that's going on right now. I think it's a good distraction, to say the least. One of the things that the film has been getting kind of some kind of backlash for, some kind of criticism for, was the violence in the film. And I think, honestly, the film is very violent, but I can't say it bothered me. I saw that critique, and I'm like, all right, I don't exactly buy that. What do you think of that?
Yeah, the movie is pretty bloody, but there are worse movies out there in terms of violence. Mm-hmm. If you can sit through, I don't know, a game of Mortal Kombat, you can sit through this movie.
Yeah, and I watched this movie and I'm like, okay, nothing about the violence seems gratuitous, at least from my end. So, like I said, I didn't really buy that. I didn't really buy that critique too much. But I guess in somewhat of a relative note to the violence in the movie, like, I think honestly the action was actually really good. Again, there's an action thriller, and you would think that going into this movie that there would be a lot of action, a lot of great action, and not much else. And you would largely be correct. But again, the action is very entertaining. It's very thrilling. There's certain set pieces that were absolutely terrific. There was the one, I don't know if you remember, I believe there's one sequence towards the middle of the film where it's kind of like, one of those like one-shot illusions. Unless it was actually one shot. I didn't see any cuts in there. But it was a very, very long take of this, like, very elaborate action scene. And I saw that, I'm like, all right, well done. They're not screwing around too much here. So what'd you think of the action in the film?
Oh, yeah, the action is fucking insane. Like, particularly that whole 10-minute one-take sequence. The movie is worth watching just for that sequence alone.
Mm-hmm.
And, after seeing it, throughout that whole scene, I only had one thing in my mind, which was, I forgot the director's name, but...
Sam Hargrave.
Who?
Sam Hargrave.
Okay. I'm probably going to forget that name in 2 seconds, but this guy needs to, this guy should be behind the camera for Uncharted. I don't know if that movie has a new director, but, that whole sequence captures, the entire essence of the video game. It felt like I was watching, the next Uncharted game.
Building on your point as to what you were saying as far as, this whole nonstop feeling, I realized, whether you were talking about, the Uncharted video games or hell with this movie as well, the characters, really just start going. Once the action starts, it very rarely stops. The vast majority of this movie is the action. There's a lot of action in this movie. But, again, one of the things that I think drags this movie down a fair bit is the story, is the writing behind all this, because, like I said, I can't say that the story and the characterizations weren't competent, but at the same time, there's nothing that I can say I really connected to or sympathized with or really felt. And again, I know this is an action movie, so I went into this with that expectation, and I came out of it, with that expectation being on point. But again, just because that something is largely an action movie doesn't mean it can't have, that I can't care about what's happening and who it's happening to. For me personally, that's the biggest check mark as to whether or not a movie can really stand the test of time. So I am just being a bit nitpicky because again this is an action movie, but what'd you think of the stuff outside of the action?
Outside of the action? Well, before I get into all of that, there's one more thing I want to say about the action. One little pivot, but it's kind of like one little problem with it, which is that the one big action sequence, it's halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
Because it's halfway through, it suffers from this thing I like to call the ghost particle effect, where that action sequence was so great that the rest of the movie just isn't as good in comparison. Don't get me wrong, the action in the later half of the movie is still good, it's still entertaining, but my mind is still on that 10-minute action.
Yeah, it peaks way too high, way too early.
Alright, so back to the characters and the story, and literally everything else that isn't a part of the action, I really didn't care much for it. Honestly, I didn't have any sympathy for any of the characters at all. The villain, there are scenes of him doing really villainous, fucked up things in the movie that I'm not going to spoil. And don't get me wrong, they're all messed up, but at the end of the day, he's a generic bad guy.
Yeah.
And Chris Hemsworth, there's this whole scene, in the later half of the movie that's supposed to be, the whole reveal of his backstory. And honestly, I felt nothing. It felt like they were trying too hard to give Chris Hemsworth this, Oscar reel moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it felt like. And I didn't feel anything.
Yeah, no, and again, I agree with you when you say that, because I didn't really feel much either. And again, I don't think that's necessarily the fault of Chris Hemsworth, because I think from an acting and performance perspective, I thought Chris Hemsworth, I thought he was good. I thought, I think he's a great action star, and I think there is kind of a gruff intensity that he brings to the role. Again, I think he did the most that he could do. But again, he wasn't given too much to work with, unfortunately, on that end. If I had to grade this movie, again, all things considered, the action is great, but at the same time, I think the things that matter most to me kind of falter a bit, but at the same time, this was still an entertaining film. all things considered, I'm giving this a 74. So I don't know, like, how much you agree with that, but again, trying to weigh out all the factors that went into making this movie. Obviously there's some things about it that shined more than others by far, but again, I'm giving this a 74.
Okay. Well, I'll give it a 75.
Trying to one-up me there, aren't you? 75 to 74. You had to one-up me there, didn't you?
Right. Like, yeah. Basically, if you're just expecting a fun, mindless action movie.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Jay, again, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming on here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Joe Acierno. Did you enjoy that clip from Real Talk with Joe Acierno? Don't be shy about it. Subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications on more fun and engaging takes on the entertainment industry. It's that simple.